I'm Roman Yossi of the Nashville Predators.
I'm Matt Duchesne of the Nashville Predators.
I'm Justus Aros of the Nashville Predators.
I'm Ryan Johansson of the Nashville Predators.
You're listening to the Renegades of Puck
with Crazy Charlie.
Welcome to the bunker. Welcome to the Renegades of Puck podcast. I'm your host and captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier. And before we get started with the no half-step in hockey coverage, let me direct you to our home website, renegadesofpuck.com. Once you go to renegadesofpuck.com, you'll learn everything you need to know about the show. Once you're good and educated about the show, that's when you click on that merchandise tab, and that'll take you directly to our main logo t-shirt, our Pride logo t-shirt, all of our different special event t-shirts, and so much more. All the gimmicks you've come to know and love from the Renegades of Puck, all still right there in our online store. Throw pillows, socks, wall art, bed sets. It makes no difference to us. We've sold out so that you can buy in. Social media is of critical importance to this independent operation, so we sure would appreciate a little bit of help. Doesn't take you but a second, doesn't cost you but a thing. You can find us on TikTok, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and also Instagram. Any of those platforms or all of those platforms would be great if you could give us a follow or a subscription. Speaking of subscriptions, YouTube, that would be another great place you can help us out. Renegades of Puck TV, new episodes posting at 7 a.m. after game days each and every game. Check us out right there on YouTube. You can also check out our behind-the-scenes live stream on Twitch. And, of course, the podcast is available on numerous platforms. Just search Renegades of Puck in your favorite platform. Give you a couple of examples: Stitcher, Google, Amazon, Spotify. We are on all of those different platforms, and we've already had 1 million downloads and replays in the year 2023. So stick taps, love, and respect to each and every one of you Renegades out there. We sure do appreciate the support. Venmo, that's how you can become a sponsor or a partner of the Renegades of Puck. Just search Renegades of Puck or scan the QR code that's currently on your screen. Thanks to generous Renegades just like you, we've been able to make significant upgrades, and we hope to make more upgrades in the coming weeks and months. And we have a couple of special events coming up that, well, frankly, we're going to need some fundage for. So we appreciate anything you can do for us. Even $1 goes a long way to helping an independent operation just like the Renegades of Puck. So please, if you can, support us today by going to Venmo and searching Renegades of Puck. Now, obviously, it's time for the no half-step in hockey coverage, so let me get to the goods. Time for operation number 716 for the Renegades of Puck. That's right. Show number 716 at this moment in hockey history. The Nashville Predators currently find themselves in fifth place, just barely in the Central Division after 52 games played. A record of 25, 21, and 6, 56 points. A home record of 14, 10, and 3. That's where their next game will take place against the Florida Panthers. We'll talk about that matchup coming up in just a moment. They've scored 142 goals on the season. They've given up 156 against. That's a goal differential of -14. Now, taking a look at the Central Division from the top down, because it is of critical importance right now to start looking at the standings with 30 games to go in the regular season. The Dallas Stars continue to be in first place as they have been for the majority of the season, 71 points. They are paced by the Winnipeg Jets in second place with 69 points. The Colorado Avalanche have 63 points. The Minnesota Wild are at 61. Then you'll find the Nashville Predators at 56. St. Louis now closing the gap behind the Preds at 55. And then Arizona and Chicago round out the bottom of the division. For the Nashville Predators, once they wrap up this game on Saturday afternoon against Florida Panthers, Sunday, Central Division critical matchup against the Minnesota Wild in Minnesota. Tuesday, back home versus the Vancouver Canucks. And then Thursday, the beginning of a West Coast road trip, a quick one in San Jose on Thursday. And then on the 26th in Arizona, back home to round out the month of February on the 28th versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. For the Preds, the first time they've met the Florida Panthers this year. They will meet one more time in Florida. That'll take place on March the 2nd. Panthers have a record of 28, 24, and 6 on the season. 62 points is good for fourth overall in the Atlantic Division. On the road, 13, 16, and 3 is their record. They have goal differential of +2 in their most recent stretch of hockey, going back just 5 games. On the 9th of February is a 4-1 win versus the San Jose Sharks. On the 11th of February, 5-3 loss versus the Colorado Avalanche. On the 13th of February, 2-1 shootout win at Minnesota. Then a 6-2 loss at St. Louis the next night. And most recently, on the 16th, a 6-3 win at the Washington Capitals. Bobrovsky got the start and the victory, 29 out of 32 in net. Now, taking a look at the rankings and the matchup between the Nashville Predators and the Florida Panthers. Panthers are going to lead in most of the statistical metrics, so let's go ahead and get to it. Goals for 3.45 per game for the Florida Panthers. That is 7th best in the NHL. That's an impressive number right there. The Nashville Predators are 2.69 per game. That's 26th in the NHL. In the goals against category, Florida giving up 3.43. Not a very impressive number right there. That's 23rd in the NHL. The Preds are giving up 2.98 per game. That's 14th in the league right there in the middle of the pack. Shots for, the Preds are 19th in the NHL, generating 30.9 shots per game on net. The Florida Panthers, though, are generating 36.1 shots per game on net. That is first overall in the NHL in the shots against category. The Preds are going to play right into that spot for the Florida Panthers because the Preds are 28th in shots against, giving up 33.8 shots against per game, while the Florida Panthers are giving up 32.5 per game. That is 23rd overall in the NHL. When it comes to special teams, the Predators' power play is rated 29th in the league. They've scored 27 times out of 167 opportunities. That's good for 16.2% on the season. Florida Panthers have the 15th rated power play in the NHL. They've scored 44 times on 201 opportunities, 21.9% overall. On the penalty kill, the Nashville Predators are in the favorable category in the metric here, 16th best in the NHL, 80.1% kill rate, 35 power play goals against. The Florida Panthers have given up an incredible number of power play goals against, 53 power play goals against, 25th overall in the NHL with a 75.2% kill rate. Every team in the NHL has significant offensive threats, and so we always take a look at the top 5 scorers in each category for the teams going up and head-to-head in this game. So for the Florida Panthers, we'll start there with the visiting team. It is Tkachuk, his first year with the Florida Panthers, and it is working out so far. 27 goals, 48 assists, 75 points overall. For Hagee, has 29 goals. That leads the Florida Panthers. 22 assists to go with that. 51 points is second overall in the team. Barkov, 16 and 33 for 49. Usually plays very good against the Nashville Predators. Montour, 10 goals, 36 assists for 46 points. And Reinhart, 20 goals in the season plus 24 assists for 44 points. Bobrovsky having a decent season, 16, 14, and 2, a .905 save percentage, a 3.05 goals against average. Taking a look at the other side of the ledger on the Nashville Predators, the captain Roman Josi leads the Preds in scoring, 13 goals and 31 assists for 44 points overall. Phil Forsberg, 19 goals and 23 assists for 42 points. Matt Duchene, 16 and 26 for 42. Mikhail Granlund, 6 goals, 23 assists for 29 points. And Ryan Johansson, 11 goals and 15 assists for 26 points. UC Saros has a record of 20, 15, and 5, a save percentage of .917, a goals against average of 2.79. And for the Nashville Predators, I mentioned Philip Forsberg, second on the team in scoring. He is still listed as day-to-day with an upper body injury, but so far there has been no indication or time frame given for his actual return to the lineup. Alex Carrier is now listed as day-to-day. That is very good news. He should be back in the lineup anytime now. And Mark Borowiecki, of course, continues to be on injured reserve. No timetable for his return, and I have no confidence that he is going to be back in the lineup before the end of this regular season. That gets you all set up for the Nashville Predators' next game, hosting the Florida Panthers at Bridgestone Arena, the first of 2 regular season meetings between the Preds and the Panthers. It was nice to have the Panthers in the same division with the Predators just a couple of seasons ago, so I'm looking forward to this matchup. Matinee Saturday should be a very wonderful afternoon over at Bridgestone Arena. That gets you all set up for that game. We got the Rebirth Sports full game recap coming up next.
Hockey players are as unique as the game itself, and your uniform should be tailored to fit you. Rebirth Sports is your sports apparel tailor. From shells, bags, warm-ups, hats, hoodies, branding, and more, let Rebirth Sports be your custom hockey tailor.
And don't forget to tell them they do more than just hockey.
Rebirth Sports on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Rebirth Sport, a match made in hockey.
And we go all the way back to February 16th of the year 2023 when the Nashville Predators were welcoming the best team in the NHL, the Boston Bruins, in a measuring stick game. The Nashville Predators and John Hines deploy their lines in a scramble, and it's like this. Granlund, Johansson, and Duchesne put together supposedly to take on the perfection line to go head-to-head in this one. Niederreiter, Glass, and Tomasino, Trennan, Sissons, and Janot, Smith, Novak, and Parsonen make up your fourth line. McDonough and Yossi, Ekholm, and Luzon, Gravel and Fabro make up your defensive pairings, and UC Saros gets the start in net. We are just 1:35 into the first period. UC Saros comes up with a save on Frederick with the glove through traffic. A small scrum ensues afterwards. Good to see the Nashville Predators engaging early in this game. 2:41 into the first period. Swayman comes up with a save on Gravel. That's the Predators' first shot on goal, but at 2:54 of the first period, it's Marchand's 17th goal of the season, giving the Boston Bruins a 1-0 lead. It was a missed shot by the Nashville Predators, went off the end wall, and ends up springing a 3-on-1 for the Boston Bruins. And frankly, it was too easy for the Boston Bruins. They scored with ease on this play. They're leading 1-0. 4:04 into the first period. Frederick's off to the box. 2 minutes for holding, giving the Nashville Predators a power play opportunity. Swayman would come up with a save on Tomasino, but not all the way until the end of the power play. 8:01 of the first period. Stars comes up with a big save right there. 8:14. Swayman comes with a save on Yossi. 8:21. Hall is off to the box. 2 minutes for holding the stick. Nashville Predators on the power play again. Saros comes up with a save on Frederick. They were beaten 2-on-2 on the rush, shorthanded, and they just drove straight to the hard areas and get a good scoring opportunity, just simply outworking the Predators right here while they're shorthanded. 13-17 of the first period. UC Saros comes with a save on Pastrnak. 15:05. Saros comes with a save on Smith. Yes, Craig Smith. Yossi almost pushes the rebound in, trying to play the puck back to his netminder. UC Saros almost ends up pushing the puck over the goal line for an own goal. 17:47 of the first period. The captain, Romeo Yossi's off to the box. 2 minutes for high sticking. It was on the follow through, but in this particular circumstance, he was dumping the puck into the zone, not shooting the puck on net. So in that particular nuance, the follow through ends up being a high sticking call. 2-minute minor. Captain Romeo Yossi off the box. Saros going to work, coming with a save on Pasternak's one-timer, then coming up with another save later on in the power play. These shots on goal at the end of the first period, the Boston Bruins have 18. UC Saros keeping the Nashville Predators in this game. The Nashville Predators only generate 8 shots on net for the entirety of the first period. So much for coming out and elevating your compete level. 1:11 into the second period on the clean sheet. It is Smith's 4th goal of the season. Yes, it is again that Smith. Craig Smith back at Bridgestone Arena scoring for the Bruins. UC Saros stopped the first shot, but the rebound by Craig Smith goes off of Luzon's stick and into the net, giving the Bruins a 2-0 lead. 4:44 into the second period. Swayman comes up with a save on Yossi. 6:17. Swayman comes up with a save on Luzon. 7:08. Yossi off to the box again. 2 minutes for tripping. The captain protested considerably about this call, just like he did about the previous call, but this was obviously a trip. Bergeron cashes in for the Boston Bruins. His 19th goal of the season gives the Bruins a 3-0 lead, and the Bruins fan base in attendance is making Bridgestone Arena seem a lot more like a home game for the Bruins. As a matter of fact, Section 303 getting a Let's Go Bruins chant going during this game, something I never thought I would see. 3-0 in favor of the Bruins halfway through the game. 11:15 of the second period. Forbert's 5th goal of the season also goes off of Luzon and in. The Bruins now have a 4-0 lead in this game. 15:44. McDonough's off to the box. 2 minutes for hooking. A kill is a kill. The Nashville Predators find a way to survive, and we move on. Fabro at 19:25 is off to the box. 2 minutes for cross-checking. At this moment in the game, a catfish is thrown on the ice during play, and we all know we love the catfish tradition and ceremony and throwing the catfish on the ice before a game or perhaps after a goal, but never during play. And I've never seen it happen during play before, and I never want to see it happen during play again. Yes, I am diverting a little bit from the normal portion here to cut a promo and say never throw anything on the ice during play, never throw anything on the ice out of frustration. The catfish is a beloved tradition that people really have enjoyed for many years here, and it's going to have to get stopped if stuff like that happens. Not a good moment for the Nashville Predators. Among all of the horrible things that happened tonight, hockey related, this was absolutely a terrible, and we are most certainly going to have more about this. But let's get back to the recap. At the end of the second period, it's a 4-0 game. The Bruins are going to be on the power play for 1:35 going into the third period. They're out shooting the Preds 25-18 after the second period. Let's just go all the way to 13:47. That's when Frederick scores his 11th goal of the season. Redirect, backdoor, easy finish. That puts the Bruins up by 5 goals in this game. And it was exactly what we talked about the other night. The Nashville Predators feed themselves directly into a wood chipper, and they lose this game 5-0. After the 5th goal by the Bruins, Tanner Jeannot off to the locker room. He got a game misconduct. No word on exactly what he said or what he did to earn that game misconduct, but if I was a Nashville Predator at this point, I would have gladly gotten a game misconduct and taken an exit. So Tanner Jeannot probably doing the right thing for the Nashville Predators. Not sure exactly what he did, what he said, but he ends up with the game misconduct right here. The final 5-0. Of course, Bruins fans going wild. Let's go Bruins chants raining down from the rafters throughout the arena. And the Nashville Predators fall on home ice by 5 goals, being outshot 30-29. UC Saros, the Nashville Predators, they never had a chance in this game. They were supposed to come out. They were supposed to have a new energy. They were supposed to have a quick start. They were supposed to elevate their game, and absolutely none of that happened tonight. In a game that was a measuring stick against the best team in the NHL, the Nashville Predators didn't measure up in any single way at all.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Tracy, owner-operator of Strong Style Fitness. And that's me and my training assistant, Rizzo. And we are here to bring you fitness that meets you where you are by offering circuit classes, bar-inspired classes, Tabata workouts, boot camps, guided stretching, and more, all taught by a certified personal trainer, me. To learn more, go to our website, strongstylefit.com. Subscribe on YouTube at Strong Style Fitness. Follow on social media at Strong Style Fit. But most importantly, let's get you moving. It doesn't matter if it's your first workout or you've been doing it for years. Strong Style Fitness has the workout that meets you on your journey and helps you along the path to a happier, healthier life. I understand where you've been, what you were going through, and where you were going, and I want to take you there. We'll see you on the mat. Mwah.
UC Saros in this game, 25 out of 30, and the only question I have at this moment in time is why was the starting goaltender and a possible Vezina finalist sacrificed against the best team in the NHL? The Nashville Predators had very little chance of beating the Boston Bruins, but you know who they did have a really good chance at beating earlier this week at home? The Arizona Coyotes. Instead, because of goaltender mismanagement in the rotation this week, you end up with 0 points instead of splitting the 2 home games. UC Saros was sacrificed tonight against the Boston Bruins. He could do nothing about that. 3-on-1 rushes, easy backdoor tap-ins, defenseman tapping in 2 goals of your own. UC Saros could not have done anything tonight against the Boston Bruins. Again, if that's a measuring stick game, there simply was no measure for the Nashville Predators. That is coaching malpractice. Assessing the situation going into this week, Arizona was a beatable team, and the Boston Bruins, it was highly unlikely that you were going to be able to beat a caliber of team like the Bruins, knowing the way this Nashville Predators team has come out of the All-Star break. That was a calculated mistake by the Nashville Predators. Granlund, Johansson, Duchesne. We were told at the beginning of the broadcast tonight that John Hines put this line together to battle directly head-to-head the perfection line. The perfection line didn't even get the start. Craig Smith ended up on the first line in a hybrid non-perfection line. And guess what? That version of the perfection line stomped John Hines' new line absolutely up and down the ice. Granlund, Johansson, and Duchesne was an absolute non-factor of a line in this game. I do not know why John Hines thought that particular combination was going to be able to match up against the class of the NHL, but it simply did not work out in any way tonight for the Nashville Predators. Luzon had 2 goals go off of him, and that is really difficult. He was in a difficult situation. All the defensemen were in difficult situations all night. The Boston Bruins were all over the Preds in their defensive zone, but just really, really difficult for Luzon to have 2 pucks go off of him. Overall, he hasn't been playing bad hockey as of late. Yes, he still takes the occasional bad penalty, but I'm trying to find something to say tonight. I guess I'm just trying to say, man, I feel for the guy having 2 pucks go off of him and into the net. He's not directly responsible for the Nashville Predators losing this game. The Nashville Predators are directly responsible for them losing this game. And here's truly, this is going to be the beginning of the ranting, I think. We were told by everybody at the Nashville Predators that they knew what they were facing in the Boston Bruins, that they knew that the best team in the NHL was coming in here, and they knew that they had to elevate and escalate their game, and they had to come out and they had to start fast on home ice. It had to be better than it was against Arizona. It had to be more important. It had to be more vital. Every puck had to be fought for, competed for. The Nashville Predators players all said they understood. The rumors had already started floating from the GM out there on the radio waves about trade deadline coming up and the fact that it might be time to start looking at selling. All of those things were meant and designed to be motivation to start this game against the Boston Bruins, and you just come out completely flat. And not only flat, you're behind less than 3 minutes into the game, and that was it. The game was over from there. How do you come out with no passion and completely flat? The Boston Bruins were probably going to win this game no matter how you came out, no matter how you played, but you could have come out on that first whistle of the game. There was a scrum around UC Saros' crease, and after that there was barely a whisper of passion or a chirp or anything in this game until Jeannot got a game misconduct for mysterious reasons there in the third period. Where was the fire? Where's the fury? Do you want to fight for your season or not? It looks like not. Honestly, it looks like not. If all you can put out there is 60 minutes of passionless hockey on home ice, then why even go out there and dress up? No passion, flat start after all the talk from the coaches and all the talk from the players about how they had to rebound after the Arizona game. Another failure to do so. Another failure to do so. I need to hear from Sean C. Smith. Sean C. Smith is very much level-headed. He's very grounded, and he has a lot of opinions about what happened tonight and what's going on with this Nashville Predators team. From A to Z Sports, by the way, check out A to Z Sports. Great article after the game tonight about everything that happened, and you need to go ahead and check that out. Sean C. Smith, you can find him on Twitter at SCSNSH. You can watch him right here on Renegades of Puck TV. Sean, it's time for some reality.
Thanks, Charlie. It's Sean Smith. And Renegades, we're going to talk just briefly tonight about what happened on the ice. The Predators lost 5-0. It was a butt whipping. Nothing really more to say other than that. The team didn't do anything it needed to do or was supposed to do at any level that was competitive against the Boston Bruins. And that's about all I'm going to say about it. Here's what I really want to talk about. You're going to hear a lot on social media, a lot of people talking around the water coolers at work. The common theme and topic of discussion amongst Preds fans is going to be whether or not this team is going to be a seller. Now, you've heard a lot recently based on David Poyle's comments about how they're definitely not going to be a buyer, but what they decide to do is largely dependent on the next few games. Pierre LeBrun talked right before the Predators game tonight about how he had heard from reliable sources that if the Predators didn't heat up really quickly, that Poyle would probably be willing to listen to any kind of offer on any of his players. And that comment right before the game that the Predators just had should tell you all you need to know about how things are probably going to go. But the reality is, folks, there's still a lot of talk that the Preds are a playoff team. And let's just pretend that they are for a moment. Let's be really, really honest. When you barely squeak into the playoffs, when you are that last wild card spot, you're the 8th seed, and look, I know you're going to bring up and say, what about 2017, Sean? Fine, okay, that's I know it happened. It was really cool. It probably got a lot of people who were not into hockey, and it probably fired up a lot of people that have been following the team for a long time. But at any point this season, have the Predators been able to put on a big show against a team like the Boston Bruins? The answer is no. And that's the problem, is when you are that 8th seed, you're playing the number 1 seed that first round. And you saw last season what happens when a team like the Predators goes up against a team like the Colorado Avalanche, a team that ended up winning the Stanley Cup. It was not pretty. It was not what you wanted to see your team do after fighting their way into the playoffs. At any level of fandom, you would look at that performance and go, ooh, that was bad. And I think realistically at this moment, you look at this game, you're sitting on the cusp of a little bit of time left for the trade deadline, sure, but also when does the team start making the decision as to what to do? Do they pack it in and say, you know what, it ain't going to happen this year, let's sell what we can and try to rebuild? And the reality is that unless you're willing and happy and satisfied with squeaking into the playoffs and promptly getting booted out in the first round by a team like the Colorado Avalanche, or last season, or like you saw the Bruins do tonight, a team like the Bruins, the best team in the league, if that's what you want to see, then sure, hang on to your players, fight your way in the playoffs. But this team ain't getting it done. And Charlie, it's not positive. But I think long term, that's probably what's going to be best for this team, is to say, okay, we've got to find a way to get some new life in here, get some players in. Let's rebuild this team. The pieces we put together, the core we've built, for all intents and purposes, isn't going to be able to get the job done. The supporting players they're bringing in aren't the difference makers for the team, and these guys having career years last year, not being able to reproduce those results, it's not promising. So that's all I have for tonight. I'm sorry it's not more positive, but I'm just trying to be realistic, and I would like to think, Renegades, that you come to the show for a reality check. That's all I got, Charlie. I'm going to send it back over to you.
The digital environment can be quite intimidating, time-consuming, and cumbersome, especially with all those other areas that need attention at your business, and that's why Stripe Digital Solutions is here to help. I know, because that's exactly what Stripe Digital Solutions did for me and the Renegades of Puck. From designing my home website and helping me create my merchandise to special event posters, brand building, and social media management. But it's not just that, it's so much more. Stripe Digital Solutions has helped me every step of the way. From startup to full-time operation, Stripe Digital Solutions has been there to assist and advise every single step of the journey. In today's fast-paced world, the path to success is having a strong digital partner, and nobody is better in the trenches than Brandy and Stripe Digital Solutions. Get the solution before it's even a problem with Stripe Digital Solutions. Sure do appreciate Sean C. Smith jumping in the trenches and filing that reality check right there. Forget the box score. We're going to go straight to Brian Baston. Brian has more than one big stat. Brian has plenty of thoughts. He was at Bridgestone Arena tonight to witness a Bruins home game against the Nashville Predators. So here's Brian from ontheforecheck.com. You can find him on Twitter at Brian Baston, and you can watch him right now on Renegades of Puck TV. Brian, it's all yours.
Thanks a lot, Charlie. The Nashville Predators returned to Bridgestone Arena tonight to face the best team in the entire NHL, the Boston Bruins. And while after the first period, a 1-0 deficit didn't seem that difficult to overcome, Boston quickly found their footing in the second period, charging to a 4-0 lead and eventually a 5-0 victory. And in a game where nothing seemed to have gone right at all, except for maybe the play of UC Saros, despite letting in 5 goals, this team was just not able to keep up. Didn't even look like they belonged on the same sheet of ice as the Boston Bruins. And one of the reasons why they got off to such a hard start and put themselves at a disadvantage is because this team has been notorious for starting off slow. And starting off slow is going to be the topic of tonight's one big stat. Now, it's no surprise to many of you, or all of you really, that Nashville is a team that takes a while to get started in almost every game. We saw plenty of games so far this season, most recently the one against Vegas, where Nashville struggled to get any shots on the board and came very close to setting a record for least amount of shots in a game. But that's something that's been pretty consistent. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to see how teams compared as far as how they started the game. So I used the benchmark of just getting to double-digit shots on goal. So just getting to 10, and what is the average time it takes a team to get to 10 shots on goal. So let's take a look at the numbers. As you can see here, Nashville is 28th in the NHL. They don't, on average, they don't get their 10th shot on goal until about a minute and a half into the second period, which is not great. If you look at teams like Boston, who they just played tonight, they're sitting at 8th, and they get that 10th shot in about 18 and a half minutes. So you can see that there's a definite difference, and you can see a lot of the good teams there up in the top are teams that are, scoring often and early, And Nashville just isn't doing that. And it's in company with teams like the Flyers, the Columbus Blue Jackets, Arizona, Chicago. Not a good group of teams you want to be kind of bunched in there with. But does this have any difference on how the team performs out on offense? Yeah, there's a pretty strong relationship. If you see here, running along left to right is just the average time, like we looked at in the last chart. But along the left side is the amount of goals scored per hour by these teams on average. And you can see right now, just looking at this, that there's the good teams up in the top left corner, they're getting 10 shots on net pretty quickly, and they are scoring to back it up. These bad teams in the bottom right quadrant, starting with probably Nashville and Philadelphia, these are teams that are taking forever to get to 10 shots because they're being outplayed, and they're scoring almost a goal less per hour than those teams on the left side. So what does that mean for Nashville? Well, in the past, Nashville has kind of used one strategy, and that is that they don't take nearly as many shots, but they try to increase the quality of the shots that they do take. As opposed to the other, strategy we've seen where it's take a whole lot of shots and none of them are really high quality on their own and just hope something goes in. And again, with a team like Nashville against high-powered teams, the New Jerseys, the Bostons, those types of teams, they just aren't producing. They can try and play pretty good defense. They know they can rely on UC Saros to be pretty good, but the defense has been uncharacteristically bad this season. I mean, much worse than what we're used to seeing from this team, especially a team that prides itself on defensemen. But Nashville has got to figure out how to get started earlier because they've got nothing to show for it on offense, and a lot of times they're just bleeding points on defense. And they either require UC Saros to have just a stellar, outstanding, inhuman type of game to keep them in it, or a sudden outburst of offense that doesn't seem to stick on for the next game. So 2 games after the All-Star break, and Nashville is not looking good. The heat is on David Poile and John Hines. And watching around the league at former Predators succeeding in other places, it's hard to imagine that this fan base could be any more disappointed and angry with this team. And you know what, in my opinion, for good reason. But you already know that, and we'll have plenty more to say about that, because after last night, leaving the arena, I have not seen a fan base leaving an arena as angry as they did last night. And honestly, even though it still seemed about halfway full towards the end of the game, and in a 5-0 loss, I'd say about 60% of the fans tonight were Boston Bruins fans, and that's something you just never want to see, especially not here in Nashville. And that's tonight's One Big Stat. Charlie?
I'm Crazy Charlie Saunier, captain of the Renegades of Puck. I'm also tired of the cold, tired of the dark, and tired of being landlocked. I'm also willing to bet that I'm not the only one who could use some sun, fun, and time in paradise with friends. That's exactly why I called our great friend Pete Weber. He told me, call Ships and Trips Travel, and now we're all going to Mexico. That's right, Renegades of Puck, July 15th to the 20th of 2023. Dreams Vallarta Resort in Puerto Vallarta is the destination to hang with Pete Weber in paradise. To join Pete and the Renegades of Puck in Puerto Vallarta, go to www.shipsandtripstravel.com. That's shipsandtripstravel.com, and just click on the ROP on vacation tab. Don't stay landlocked. Join the Renegades of Puck in paradise, July 15th to the 20th, 2023 in Puerto Vallarta. Pete Weber, the Renegades of Puck, and you. It's time to ditch those skates for flip-flops and fun in the sun. Tonight something happened at Bridgestone Arena that I never thought that I would see. Tonight, during the third period, out of frustration, a Nashville Predators fan took a catfish and threw it onto the ice during play. Now, in case you didn't hear me earlier, that is never acceptable, no matter how frustrated you get, and it should never have happened. But seeing that catfish thrown on the ice during gameplay, causing a stoppage, causing potentially problems for the team moving forward with what has been one of the most beloved traditions in franchise history, it made me start thinking, Well, I didn't have much else to think about during the third period as the Nashville Predators were not performing up to standard on their own home rink, and I was listening to Let's Go Bruins chants throughout the entire third period. So it gave me time to think about this catfish that suddenly was thrown onto the ice, and it was, in fact, a catfish too far. And the Preds have reached a nexus point tonight, and one fan just took the beloved tradition of throwing a catfish on the ice, and he turned it into a moment of protest through frustration. Now, again, that can never happen, should never happen, and I hope it never happens again. But this particular person thought in his frustration that it was time to just throw his catfish over the glass and exit the arena, probably heading off to get arrested. Taking that catfish and throwing it on the ice in frustration was a true sign of protest by this one fan. And the franchise, it has hit a turning point. The fun is gone. And in tonight's 5-0 loss versus the Boston Bruins, the Band-Aid was fully ripped off. Section 303, largely filled with Boston Bruins fans. The visiting team from the Eastern Conference had enough fans to take over what has been, since day one, the stronghold section for Nashville Predators fanatics. I can only imagine those survivors of Section 303 that have been there, Mark Hollingsworth, Derek Hines, and so many others. I can only imagine what they felt tonight sitting there in Section 303 as they had to hear "Let's Go Bruins" rain down over them, overpowering them. Just too much. Combine that with the numerous empty seats in the building that we've seen not only tonight against the Boston Bruins, but in numerous home games as of late. This has to be a wake-up call to everybody over at 501 Broadway. Everyone from the top down needs to understand that tonight was a turning point for this franchise and for this fan base. The team core, they once captured the imagination of every sports fan in Nashville. 60,000 people downtown to watch that core group take on the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Stanley Cup final. That was quite a bit of time ago. And now, that core is long broken. Even with career years and record seasons last year, the Nashville Predators were barely able to squeak into the playoffs. And we all remember what happened when they did barely squeak into the playoffs. They were absolutely routed by last year's class team in the NHL, the Colorado Avalanche, in the only sweep in Nashville Predators franchise history. It was a measuring stick moment for the Nashville Predators that the Nashville Predators failed to measure up to. Coming into this season, there was a lot of good talk. There was a lot that was going to happen. There were some additions made to the team. The competitive rebuild, as has been sold since 2019, continued on. The team core now is broken. The team core is ready to be broken up. But that leads us to some really important questions. Who is going to be broken up from the team core? Is this going to be a complete removal of all of the familiar names and all of the big contracts that the Nashville Predators have pieced together over the last generation of this franchise? How will they go about doing it? Will they clean house going into the trade deadline coming up here soon? We've already heard the rumors being floated to radio hosts and some other NHL insiders that the Nashville Predators are not only going to be sellers if they continue this trend, but that David Poile will pick up the phone and have a conversation about anyone. What does that actually mean? So who, how, most importantly, will David Poile be the one rebuilding this? With the next decade plus of this Nashville Predators franchise up in the air and no clear mission statement and no clear direction, is David Poile the right general manager at this time to break apart this core and send these assets across the landscape of the NHL in return for what? What is the plan for prospects, for draft picks, for the next general manager, for current rostered players that could come in and reshape this Nashville Predators team somehow between the next 30 games and next season? Is David Poile the right general manager with all of his credentials, being a Hall of Famer, being the winningest general manager in NHL history, with all of those credentials? Is it time for him to be deciding what will happen with this Nashville Predators franchise for the next decade? It's not just David Poile. It's not just the general manager. It's not just the lack of clear vision and direction with the roster itself. It is the coaching staff. Coaches made decisions this season that have left the team flat and confounded. Closed-door meetings without the coaches, that's always something to pay attention to. Word salad. I've always appreciated the fact that John Hines is willing to give full, lengthy answers to how he thinks and why he makes decisions. But frankly, as of late, it's just become word salad. None of the things he is talking about are happening in application out there on the ice or with the players or with the team. Some of the most recent decisions, starting Lankinen versus Arizona and then sacrificing UC Saros to the Boston Bruins. 2 points could have been attained against the Arizona Coyotes with a Vezina-caliber goaltender in net, even with a flat Nashville Predators team in that game. But against the Boston Bruins, UC Saros never had a chance. Not only did you sacrifice your starting goaltender, but you sacrificed his confidence going forward into the next series of games. Another measuring stick moment where the Nashville Predators failed to measure up. The coaching staff has been making difficult and troubling decisions all season long. I give you that example right there, but what about the inability to find any cohesion in the lines this season? The Nashville Predators had remained relatively healthy until Philip Forsberg. But where was the cohesiveness in the units? Where were the combinations that had any chemistry? A failure for 50-plus games now. It's okay to be experimenting and moving pieces around, but ultimately you have to find some cohesion in the lineup. And when several of these players have been together for several years now and they cannot find any chemistry or cohesion, then I think we all know where this is leading to. The general manager, the coaching staff, the players, all of them share blame in this particular situation. And just what about the obsession with Cole Smith? The sacrifice of Eeli Tolvanen this season and what he is now accomplishing, exposing the Nashville Predators even further in these examples that I am giving right here. Numerous options could have been in this lineup this season over Cole Smith. The team, the front office, the coaching staff, they've all crossed the line tonight. And if the best you can do against the class of the NHL is a listless, passionless 60 minutes of hockey, then it's not time for a closed-door meeting or leaking rumors to the media. It's time for real change. And that time is now. It's time to break up the core of this team. The competitive rebuild era is ever. Tonight was simply a catfish too far. I'm your host and captain, Crazy Charlie Saunier. Stick taps, love, and respect.